Hello, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to Inner Space Family. Today's very interesting topic, and topic is beauty of solitude. Yeah, very interesting topic. And for that, we have a Nehul Shah with us, and Nehul is a business entrepreneur, and he's practicing Raj Yoga meditation over 10 years, and also he has a young family and uses spirituality as his foundation of anything he does. So please welcome Mehul. Thank you.
Shan. Very good. So I thought we'll get into conversation. Perhaps we should just sit, quieten our minds just for a minute. Let everything that has happened during the day just pass by. Om Shanti. So how many here, as soon as you walked in, felt a sense of quietness, sense of peace, sense of, oh my gosh, such a big difference from the traffic out there to the world inside? And that somewhat is about what we're going to be talking about today, beauty of solitude. But very often we mistake solitude with loneliness. And I thought maybe we can just talk about that a little bit, just so that we can understand the difference between the two and how the both two opposites of each other. And loneliness comes from a place of emptiness, a real feeling of emptiness within ourselves. Whereas solitude, the beauty of solitude, or if you're able to tap into the power of solitude, comes from a place of real fullness, energized inside, loved by your own self, peaceful inside, happy inside. You don't feel the need to have this and have that in terms of people, possessions, or anything of that sort. And in essence, we already have that inside ourselves, that beauty of solitude, that strength within ourselves that says to us, I don't need happiness from outside, it already exists within ourselves. I don't need peace from outside, it already exists within ourselves. But somewhere along the line, we've forgotten how to tap into that power. I've passed my university education now, and now if I have to then now remember a mathematical formula, I really have to remind myself. In the same way, I've actually forgotten the mathematical formula of the fact that peace and happiness already exists within ourselves. So the question then is, why are we at the moment in that situation where we might have everything externally? We have our clothes, we have our family, we have possessions that we require. Why is there that emptiness inside, where we feel a little lonely, a little bit uncomfortable? We can't really tap into that power, peace and happiness that already should be existing within ourselves. And the Brahma Kumari at the university here gives the deep powerful secret as to why that is happening, not to everybody, not just to one, two, or a million or 10 million people. Everybody is in the same boat when it comes to this. And the reason for that is that there is a spiritual law, and we are part of that spiritual law at the moment. The way spiritual law will work is that the soul is fully charged, a lot of power, a bit like a phone battery. In the morning, it's fully charged. And then as the day goes by, charge of the battery reduces to a point where it feels empty and cannot function in its normal way. So when our telephone or a mobile phone's charge has gone down to zero, it can't function anymore. And very often, sometimes our life, that the power of our soul has gone down to depletion, and we just feel so frustrated, just don't know what to do and how to the situation. The university teaches us that a soul runs, the soul meaning the living energy that exists within ourselves, moves from one body to another. So after this body, the soul moves into another body, but its original state is one of peace, power. And at this particular time, we're going through a phase in the time cycle where the power of the soul has pretty much gone diminished to 10%, 5%, which is why a lot of people will experience some happiness, but they'll experience more unhappiness. So if you talk to anybody, they might say, okay, I thought getting married will bring me happiness. And then they found out that maybe it's bringing me more unhappiness. So I'll have children. That's going to be an answer. Then children grow up, turn out the way you want them to be, and it's ending up bringing you more unhappiness. And the entire world cycle is in this particular pattern. There's more unhappiness than the amount of happiness that you're experiencing. The good thing about understanding that concept is to help understand you're not alone in this. We're all in the same boat, and billions of people are in the same boat. The question then is, if we're in that same boat, how is it really affecting us? You know, just like how our body becomes weaker, we're more susceptible and vulnerable to illness, colds, coughs, disease, etc. In the same way, the power of our soul, the inner consciousness that exists within ourselves, if that power starts to diminish, stuff starts to enter that shouldn't be entering. It's kind of like an illness that enters inside the soul. And one of the things that enters the soul is a lot of waste thoughts. So if, for whatever reason, you get into a fight with somebody, remember that situation, and automatically the mind starts thinking about that situation over and over. Have you ever had that experience that this happened 1 week ago, 1 month ago, or 2 months ago, or many years ago? Still, that thought is still going on inside your head. So our soul has not strong enough to be able to filter that out. So that has actually entered. And that takes us away from our happiness even further. The other, and as the waste thoughts keep increasing, then they start getting into negative thoughts, anger, greed, all that sort of stuff starts to come in. So our mind gets faster and faster and faster, rather than getting slower and slower and slower. It's getting faster and faster and faster. And you find the world is working at such a quick, fast speed, thinking that is normal, not necessarily making all the right decisions, but certainly. And the mind is so quick, fast and fast and fast. That's a vicious cycle. But the other thing that is actually happening, when the soul becomes weaker, and because it's not experiencing its original state of peace and happiness, it's trying to find it from somewhere else. And that somewhere else is externally. Um, so it could be from the profession that you are at work, it could be the fact that you are a mother, the fact that you're a father or a child of somebody. It could be the fact that you own a car, and that's actually going to make you happy. You own a beautiful house, and that's going to be. So we're looking for external things to feel that exists outside. So what has happened is that our awareness has actually shifted from the world inside to the world outside. How can the world outside feel that happiness? So there's been a shift. There's also been a shift in identity from recognizing who we are to who we think we are. I think today, for example, my profession is an optometrist. So I test eyes for a living. So if I start to identify myself to be an optometrist, and my entire happiness is based around that. Go to work, deal with my patients, come back home, and I identify strongly with that happiness. What happens to me when I'm ill or I'm no longer able to practice again? My whole world coming crashing down. I have a patient who strongly identified with her daughter so much, strong attachment. And she went to university, and her whole world came crashing down because of that identity. So we are now in a situation, because we've been trying to find our happiness from outside, we've started identifying ourselves with that. Some people identifying themselves even with a car. So if something happens to the car, even their world would come crashing down. We're creating a false identity for ourselves. So when the power of the soul diminishes, we're no longer being able to see who we really are. We're all in the trap of something called a mistaken identity. What we believe who we are is not really who we actually are. And that's where this whole spirituality is a little bit better, and to see how we can actually reverse this particular situation. But the good news is that it is possible to reverse the situation once we've actually understood it. Does that make sense so far? So, even the little young lady is nodding away, so that's. How old is she? Yeah, okay. So, my daughter came to the Brahma Kumari roughly at about that age. And at that age, they did not allow younger children to attend, just in case. And she reminds me so much of my daughter at that particular time. So, and she's having this beautiful experience of vibrations. Wonderful, wonderful. So there is an antidote to this whole situation. We can actually reverse it. So that's the beauty of spirituality that I learned. So about 12 years ago, as Brother Kapil mentioned, I was actually at a place where I had achieved almost everything that I could possibly hope for externally. So it was a very successful business. I was looking after everybody. Family, a large family. just share with you what we do here in the Brahma Kumaris in order to be able to tap into the beauty of solitude. Because when I first walked in here, in the global house, there were a bunch of people that were sitting there, that were staring at the wall, and I was thinking, okay, am I at the right place? Have they got not nowhere to go? Little did I know at that time that what they were really practicing was the beauty of solitude. And as I started to do it myself, I started to being able to tap into the same thing. So the first thing we do is to try and wake up early in the morning. And the reason to wake up early in the morning is that nobody else is awake. So you don't really have so many different types of vibrations going on from different ways. If you go to a temple, it's a different vibration. If you go to a nightclub, it's a different vibration. If you go to a restaurant, it's a different vibration. The vibration early in the morning is one of real quietness. So if you really want some time just to still your mind, that's actually a good time because there's nothing else that's actually influencing you. The and what you can do while while in the morning when you wake up is to spend some time in silence and just watch what's going on inside your mind. When we're standing on a train station, you watch the train go by. In the same way, you just watch in silence what's actually going on inside your mind and allow it to uh, quiet. And then you could actually switch on some guided meditation if you want to, because the mind is it's like a wild horse sometimes. It wants to go from here to China to Japan all in the span of 30 seconds. So the guided meditation will help you to anchor your thought. So each time, listen to the guided meditation. If your mind actually starts to drift away, that's okay because that's understandable and normal to start off with. And then just bring the mind back to whatever the meditation is saying. It might drift away, go back to the meditation, it might drift away again. The more it drifts away, it gives you an indication that you're having way too many thoughts. And most of them potentially waste thoughts. Yeah. I just need to get a bit closer, I think. Yeah. Turn it around. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. So the more, yeah. So in the morning, that's what we need to be doing. Learn how to spend that time wisely. And if your thoughts drift away, don't worry too much about that because that's quite at the moment, because the power of the soul is not as high as it once was. That's quite a normal thing to experience in the beginning. So not to be disheartened, but you'll be able to find that if you're doing a 5-minute meditation, in the beginning you might be able to concentrate maybe only 30 seconds at it or 1 minute at it. And then you start noticing that you can do it for 2 minutes and 3 minutes, and that's how you know that you're going to be making progress. The other thing that we do after the meditation is listen to some good knowledge. We call it the murli, which is the flute of knowledge. And in the murli are some anchor points, and they could be very simple anchor points. For example, it might be teaching us that today the practice you need to keep is I am a peaceful being. So I switch on my intellect and I use that as my anchor point and I go to work with that thinking. I am a peaceful being. Just imagine if I have a customer or a manager or a son or a daughter who is suddenly very angry for some reason, and I have that anchor point. I am a peaceful being. What is the dynamics that's going to happen between you and that particular person with that type of an anchor point? Or if you're already very distressed and frustrated and you're exposed to somebody so angry, what sort of a dynamic do you think you're going to be having that particular day? So that's the reason why we use an anchor point always early in the morning, that we continue throughout the day. I saw this sister running the wheel, and the it turned into enthusiasm was the word she got on the wheel. So your anchor point will be, I don't want to let go of my enthusiasm all day tomorrow, and that's your anchor point. And then gradually, what happens is that it actually becomes a part of you. So we've done our meditation, we've fed something inside our intellect, which is useful. And then what are we going to do during the day? So the practice that we keep is the practice of something called traffic control. If traffic inside our mind keeps going on and on and on and on, just like when we're driving, it's going to cause frustration, irritation, tiredness, exhaustion. That's what we experience on the road. So it's the same thing that we experience inside our mind if the traffic of our thoughts continue and we don't slam the brakes on it. So once every hour, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whenever you can, and there's a traffic control app, I think, of the Brahma Kumaris that you can actually download as well. And what that does is that whatever it is that you're doing, within a reasonable capacity, you just stop whatever you're doing and you connect with who you are. I am a being of light, a being of peace. In this case, an anchor point would be, I am a being filled with enthusiasm. And you have that anchor point just for a minute, and then you go back into your working life. And so let's say, in the case of enthusiasm, if you feel that you're lacking a bit of motivation, or your team is lacking a bit of a motivation, you're feeding your intellect with this thought, which automatically starts radiating out. And that's how other people around you change as well. So in the Brahma Kumaris, we learn that we can't change others, but other people do change when you change, when I change. So one of the amazing things that I experienced in my home life is that my daughter was at that time her age, telling me, Dad, you're so full of love. and the reason for that is because I could tap into the love that exists within me. So I didn't realize that that's what I was emerging, but that's exactly what was actually going on at that particular time. And even inside the practice, I was beginning to notice that people were more comfortable, being more and more comfortable being around me. They didn't necessarily need to engage in conversation, but clearly they were feeling something that they would not normally be feeling. And that's when it started to occur to me that this concept actually does exist and it's worth experimenting with. So I thought, instead of maybe, we've done that brief discussion during the day. How are we going to end the evening? So as we've practiced during the day, before you go to sleep, the thing to do is also to try and not try not to use anything that will break the pattern during the day. So anything that you watch on TV that potentially can disturb the peace that you're experiencing during the day, try and avoid that, and just feed your intellect before you go to sleep with some sort of an anchor point as well to go to sleep, so that you can wake up in the morning with that particular thought also in mind. So rather than just talking about it, let's just try and experience traffic control right now, so that you can actually take it away and start practicing this evening. and keep experimenting with it for the entire week. and just see what difference it makes. Are you all ready? So this is an open eye meditation that we learn in Raj Yoga rather than a close eye meditation. And the reason for that is so that you can practice it wherever you go, and you don't need to worry about having to close your eyes on the middle of the road, for example, or when you're driving, etc. You can practice it whenever and wherever you are. So you just keep your eyes open and just sit straight upright. Relax your body and just find any point in front of you. And the point of light works really, really well. If you wanted to just put your eyes, gaze your eyes on that. And as you're gazing your eyes on that point of light, you bring your awareness to your breathing. Breathing in and out, in and out. You might find that there's a trail of thoughts going on inside your mind, but you just bring it to an anchor point of breathing in and out. And as you're breathing in and out, you create a thought of peace. I am a peaceful being of light. I just hold on to that thought for as long as I can. I am peace. And with that thought, I come back to the current moment. And I look around and start doing whatever I want to do next. And every single hour, I keep trying to practice that, break that cycle. Because if you don't, your thoughts will just become faster and faster and faster. And you'll find that the waste thoughts will continue to keep increasing. And although the world outside might look okay, internally you will start letting go of your happiness. In this way, you will start being able to tap into your own inner power, your inner happiness. And when the thoughts become less and less inside the mind, you will find that you will be able to make a lot of right decisions. Sometimes you can be making many decisions, but they're not the right decisions. So you get even more exhausted. But when the mind is quiet, a bit like a calm sea, you can steer the ship properly. But if you are in a choppy sea, it's very difficult to see what's going on. So it's very difficult to control things. So always spend time to quieten the mind as much as you possibly can. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about my own personal life recently, especially over the past 7 or 8 months, and how I've used this power of solitude for my own self. About 7 months ago, I'm born in a faith called the Jain faith. And I've always been very interested in spirituality, and I think the Jainism has actually given me an interesting foundation, and what I've learned at the Brahma Kumaris has actually just enhanced that knowledge for me. So I was thinking in my mind that what am I going to be doing with my life with this knowledge that I have? And I had this beautiful opportunity about 7 months ago to go back to my Jain organization, who I'd sort of moved away from a little bit because I was just practicing so much of this. And I got elected within the committee, and I got this position which allows me to really influence the organization. And it's a community of about 10 or 15,000 people. So it's a large family. Even in a family of 5 and 6, there's always going to be a little bit of this and that going on. This is a huge family with so many differences in opinion. And it's such a big test paper. It has been such a big test paper for me to try and see what's happening in the world inside while I'm trying to cope with all these situations and all these people, uh, you know, giving me all their opinions. And I remember one incident that really shook me slightly. There was a queue, and we were trying to organize this massive lunch for everybody in one of the events. But the lunch got delayed for some other reasons which were beyond my control. So I went out there to just apologize to them. But one person couldn't control themselves and got so angry to a point where at least another 100 people must have heard what they were saying to me. And I just stood there calmly and, I apologized again and explained that we'll try the best we can to actually work the situation. But although I was shaken up, what I reflected on later on, it didn't really upset me greatly. It didn't really hurt me greatly. I didn't feel any sense of anger. And then as the person came into the queue again, he himself apologized to me for his behavior. And so did so many people around them. And at that particular time, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is how, uh, strong you can become with this beauty of solitude in situations like this. And in the Brahma Kumaris, we learn that we're strong and stable. The boat of truth can shake, which is probably how I was feeling at the time, but it never collapses. So don't let go of your happiness. Don't let go of who you are. Because of that incident, I could let go of my peace. I could let go of my happiness. But I've trained myself enough within reason to not let go of this sort of a situation. So that's how I learned. So that's how this new environment is actually teaching me as to where I am and what I need to be doing. There was another incident where I had to take some action because of the seniority of my position so that the association doesn't get damaged. And some person took it an incorrect way and decided to say something about it. And so we were on a discussion table and we were talking about it. And I had to explain that, the actions were necessary, otherwise, it would be causing damage to the association. And later on, after the meeting, a lot of the people who were on that table came back to me and said that it's amazing how much that particular person attacked you, but yet you were so calm and apologetic for the way it may have made them feel. Because whilst I didn't make any apology for the action, I knew I had done that. I made an apology for the way he potentially felt. But it all happened in a very cool, calm sort of way. And I came back thinking that, wow, this is the power of the investment that I've actually made inside myself to strengthen our inner self. And this is the reason why why solitude and the power of solitude is just so crucial and so important. So I think I've spoken quite a bit now, and and I hope that was kind of interesting. Were there any questions that you wanted to ask from what I've said? Yeah.
One second. One second.
So does that mean you don't get angry?
I would say that I get irritated still. Yeah. But I know that it's kind of, yeah, it's temporary. And also, I also know that there's a lot of work that I still need to do as well. But I appreciate whatever I have achieved. Because in the university, what you learn is that always be kind to yourself. So if you feel that there's something not quite right, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because at least you know it. A lot of people walking out there don't know that there's something wrong going on. So if, let's say, I do get irritated, I need to check what the cause is and see what area needs working at. But to be perfectly honest, the more I strengthen myself and the more I can tap into peace, my own love, the chances are more and more slimmer that I'll get irritated. And if I've done too much community work, for example, or if I have worked very many long hours and forget spending time for myself, then usually it's the reason why the irritation is coming back. So I kind of work it out that way, that I just haven't spent as much time on myself as I should. Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you two questions.
Yeah.
So can I ask you the first one and get the answer, and then ask you the second
Sure.
one rather than merging them?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Right. So the first thing was about you talking about getting up early in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of my life, I'm a night person. You know,
Yeah.
I worked in the theatre a lot, so a show would only come down at 10:30, or I mean, I usually go to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's an average thing. And since menopause hit, it's a nightmare. So my sleep can be broken. So getting up early it almost doesn't feel like an option for me. By the time I get to sleep, it's time to wake up again.
Yeah.
So I can find that I can get up. Maybe I've been doing it quite religiously for the last week because I've been so ill. Getting up at about 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then I will spend an hour doing I have various things as well as Brahma Kumaris, but I will spend, like, say, 3/4 of an hour or so in my own space.
Yeah.
But it is at about 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's not at 4 o'clock in the
Sure.
morning. It's not at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so am I really missing out on an awful lot by getting up, like, 3 hours later, 4 hours later, whatever?
You know, what the answer, in my opinion, is no, you're not missing out. But I'll explain the reason why I feel that way. I used to ask the same question when I was doing this. And, sometimes the body is just so exhausted, and then you're forcing the body to do something. And then when you repeatedly force and force and force, something is going to have to give. In my case, what happened when I was doing this for about 4 or 5 years, I became very ill, actually. I wouldn't say I blame it on the spiritual learning, but I think I wasn't listening to my body as well as I should have itself. And that sort of taught me a lesson, that do it based on apply the knowledge as best as you possibly can, based on your situation or your circumstance. So when I started practicing, I used to go to sleep at around about 9:30 or 10, so I could wake up a little bit more earlier. The challenge I have, for example, right now, is that my meetings sometimes finish at 1 o'clock in the morning. So how do I give myself enough rest till 4 o'clock, and wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning? And I have to keep a check on that. So when I can do it, I do it. And there are many people, such as the people working in the center, who will probably do it religiously because they're in that situation where they can. But you might be doing a night shift, or a doctor a night shift, and you have to adjust it based on that. If you can do it early in the morning, it's always a little bit more useful because of this vibration that we were talking about. But I have not experienced myself that I have fallen behind hugely by respecting what my body is actually telling me. So I hope that sort of answers your question to a certain extent. Something is better than nothing, basically. But the Goldman standard is this, as much as you possibly can. And in if you
It's
have
quite a strict thing. 4 o'clock in the morning, isn't it? 4 o'clock.
we don't. I don't think we look at it that way. I think we look at it as an automatic way. It's a bit like how you wake up strict, how you go to sleep strictly at 11 o'clock, for example. It's not really strict. It's just automatic. It's your automatic pilot. So in the same way, people just wake up automatically once you get into the system of it. So that takes away that uh, feeling of strict and heaviness inside what you're looking forward towards doing it, not you don't feel uncomfortable doing it, if that makes sense, kind of thing. But in Mount Abu, in Rajasthan, this is where our main headquarters are, and we used to do this, and we still do this during the COVID time. This pattern is broken, but a lot of us used to go there and have a spiritual retreat there. And the environment was just so conducive and so easy to wake up early in the morning, so easy to go to sleep, so easy to practice all this. But the environment is just so conducive. So you do have to, especially when you've got a family, you're in a working life, you have to keep learning and see how you're going to keep applying all these things inside rather than doing it the other way around and stopping everything and starting. This is what worked for me anyway, but that's not the same answer for everybody. For some people, they would be able to stop everything and actually just start 4 o'clock, spend as much time in the center, etc. So you have to tailor it based on your situations, because at least you're gaining something and you're not getting put off by it. And it's all an experiment. So whatever the traffic control is a tool that you've taken today, use it, experiment with it, and see how it benefits you. There was a second part to your question?
My flat is full of stuff, all my pictures from India and my bedroom, everything. I've got photographs, I've got sort of stuff everywhere. I have a corner where I've got my Brahma Kumari's picture. But I find it incredibly difficult keeping my eyes open, knowing I've got other things, because I also do Buddhist and Hindu as well.
Yeah.
So I find it very, very hard, and that's why I tend to close my eyes, because I don't seem to have a real space that is just for my Brahma Kumari meditation. So what do you think I can do about that? Because I do feel overpowered by other things that are in my flat. Is it all right, again, to close my eyes, or again, am I really missing out by not keeping my eyes open?
Before I started this practice, I was doing the same type of meditation that you're talking about, which is closing the eyes. But actually, to be honest, it's just a question of practice, really, and just allowing and giving yourself enough time to get into that realm of being able to do it with open eyes and having an anchor point and listening to that guided meditation. And if it's getting a bit difficult, then just close your eye for a moment, open them again, and then just allow that anchor point once more. Close your eye again, allow the listening, and then open your eyes once more until you feel that you can actually just use one standard point and actually doing it. But I do think that it's worthwhile experimenting with, because a lot of times people associate meditation with closed eye. And really speaking, spirituality is about being spiritual, being an embodiment of spirituality in whatever you do, whether I'm sitting, walking, talking to you. And you can't be doing that while with your eyes closed. You have to be doing it with your open. I think it's just a question of just practicing and using that anchor point and going from to and fro until you feel that, okay, I can actually now do it with my eyes open. Yeah, yeah. Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, an empty room with just one thing in it. Maybe. I think you're going to have to experiment. I think you're just going to have to experiment. Was there anything else? Okay. So what we can do is do a guided meditation right now with open eyes. You've got this. You've got this. So again, sitting straight, comfortably. Put some soft music. And bring your focus to your breathing again. Breathing in and out. I bring my awareness to the center of my forehead. This is the seat of my soul. This is where all my power of love, peace, happiness, joy, wisdom reside. It's in the center of my forehead, the seat of my soul. And as I enter this world, which is so quiet, yet so peaceful, I notice my mind to become more and more quiet. I'm able to experience the truth of who I really am. I am a being of light. And as I experience this peace and happiness, I also connect with another force, a much more higher force. It's as though this force is charging my battery, is giving me even more love, is giving me even more peace, and is giving me even more happiness. This is not an ordinary force. It's the force of a higher consciousness. It's the force of God. I start to understand that to build my relationship with this higher force, I need to allow my mind to be quiet, to be peaceful. I feel the need to build a relationship with this higher force. as I experience the power of God, I make a decision to establish a beautiful relationship. He is my father, he is my mother, he is my brother, he is my sister. I make a conscious decision that I, the soul, a being of light, can have a conversation with God at any point and at any time. I allow the canopy of God's protection to surround me in all that I do. And I make a decision that in all that I do, I will first look inwards, upwards, towards God, and then perform all actions so that I remain in that protection. With this awareness, of who am I, who I have built the relationship with, I come back into the present moment, feeling the beauty and power of solitude. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Nehul, for the wonderful talk and all the thoughts and tips given. My next week topic, same time, same place, and the topic is magic of contentment. In light of today's talk, we have a very good book called Inner Wisdom. It's available in the shop. You can browse through on your way out. And also one more special event, which is the second week of December, is our Christmas Day. So we can have a party here, which is the, I think it's 13th of December, which is also the same time. So once again, thank you for joining and have a safe journey back home. Thank you.